Tell us a story, Rob.
Just going around the circle. Yeah. Okay. I have so many people in my life who I do consider mentors. The one I'm going to mention right here now is my Uncle Pete.
Okay.
John Peterson, married to my Aunt Jane. He's gone now. But I had a troubled, like teen life, and took me a while to grow up. I'm naming my Uncle Pete because he is one of the main driving factors in like little Robbie becoming, a man. And it wasn't even through like constant contact. I mean, I come from a big family and we're all very close.
Okay.
My Uncle Pete always seemed to find little intimate moments, quiet moments, and he would strike. He would hit me with a little bit of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hardly ever anything, complicated. It's like, hey, people don't want to hear you complain.
It's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear you complain about anything. Okay. So I get it. Like you want to do this instead of doing that. You're going to go do that, right? You're going to go do what your mom told you to do because that's the right thing to do. On top of that, just don't complain about it because here's what it does. And he would kind of lay these things out. These are not things that intuitively, as a, say, 12, 13-year-old, to be true.
Mm-hmm.
These are things that are taught to you, preferably taught to you by someone who knows the deal. Otherwise, these lessons will be learned over and over and over again or taught to you. And maybe you never will learn them, but in much the same way as you were talking about your stepdad, my Uncle Pete was just an exemplary guy in my eyes. He was always doing what I considered to be the right thing. He was very even-handed and calm, but he knew what he stood for when it came to all the important things that like my young self was kind of being introduced to. And he just helped me navigate those things in an effortless way. And I spoke briefly at his funeral and tried to convey a little bit of that to my family. I almost chuckled in the middle of it because our church, most of us grew up in the same town, went to the same schools, same church, all this stuff. The church was so echoey. This is something it was a bone I had to pick with my church my entire life. But, what are you going to do? You don't say anything about that. I had been gone because I joined the Army when I was 17 for so many years. When I finally went back, and here I am speaking to my family about the impact that my Uncle Pete had on me. I really wanted to say some things. I don't think anybody heard it because it was so echoey. The thing was for me, I just felt good speaking those words for my Uncle Pete, almost to my Uncle Pete once I realized nobody was understanding what I was saying. Microphone, speakers, big boomy church. But I think about him often.
Sure.
And I hope, I'm doing him proud. And that's my mentor.
So it doesn't have to be formal. It's not a big event. It's not a quarterly mentoring. Just those quiet, teachable moments. Take advantage of everyone to pass along. I'm sure Uncle Pete would tell you, who spoke into his life, and he's passing those nuggets along to you.
Yeah.
So a lesson for all of us to take advantage of those. And I think it's important to do that with peers as well, right? You think of the mentoring relationship as this huge divide, and a lot of those stories have been that way. But a lot of times you're just sharing what you learned with a friend. and they perceive it as mentoring. Like they get a lot out of it. But I don't think I'm not a mentor to Mike. We just share with each other, you know. And he tells me, you know, the things that he's working on. I tell him the things I'm working on, and we share our wins together and share our struggles together. You know, those little quiet, teachable moments are super important, and they accumulate over time.
Yeah,
There's something powerful. Yeah.
There's a lot to be said about when you hear the word mentor, you think of somebody above you.
Right.
I mean, the fact is that somebody can be your mentor and you can be theirs equally. Like there's no reason why they have to be above you, you know.
100%.
So, you know, when I talk about mentor, especially on the Elite U, it's just basically someone you see just a little bit past or a little bit more developed in an area that you're just trying to absorb information, or it's an experience that they've had that you know you might run into down the line. So you listen to that, and therefore that is going to increase your knowledge a little bit, and hopefully you can veer off and not have to make the hard, you know, the world is not going to teach you that lesson, you know, the hard way. But yeah, it's not like you're looking up at someone, you know, so it's interchangeable with the peer, I guess. But yeah,
True. It's more that, you know, it's not the relationship but necessarily of being in a formal leadership position. It's the relationship of the knowledge transfer.
if you're enjoying this video, I wanted to take a second to talk about EliteU.com, where you'll be able to find early access to all of our YouTube content, as well as exclusive interviews and access to mentors. And now back to the video.
So mine will be about my grandfather.
Okay.
So my life growing up was a little bit different, a little tough. I was in the country. I was a country boy, and my father wasn't really around a lot. So my brother was diagnosed with cancer when I was 2.5 years old, and it was going to be terminal. And through all that, my dad was kind of intermittent, but someone who was always there was my dad's dad. So he was just like the foundation of the family, essentially. And when my dad came back into the picture again, he knocked my mom up with my sister. So now my mom is pregnant. My brother's in the hospital every single day with cancer. And then there's me. And so it's like, well, what do we do with him? Because I was about to start kindergarten. And so my grandfather stepped up and said, hey, he can come live with me on the farm. It's like, okay. So I went to live with him, and I was like, man, boy, did stuff change. Discipline, you're going to take this trash out. You're not going to be a little asshole. You're going to get up at this time. You're going to go outside. You're going to mow the damn yard. You want to ride your 4-wheeler dirt bike? This is what you're going to do, you know? And so it was really crazy because, you know, later on in my life, I found out that my dad cheated on my mom and ended up marrying that woman. Crazy long story. But what was really nice was throughout this whole time, I had so much anger, you know, built into my body. And so kind of like you, I had a troubled teenage years. I was getting in fights at school. I was getting suspended. And he never yelled at me. He was always so calm. And he'd just be like, well, what are you going to do now for the next 2 weeks? And I was like, if I didn't answer, like I was going to do chores and do a bunch of stuff, he's probably going to beat my ass. and so then it was just like, well, I guess I'll do this. And then, you know, later on, I came to him, you know, just turned 18, graduated top of my class for like welding and stuff. And I was like, I don't really want to do this. I think I'm going to join the military. And he was like, well, have you thought about it a lot? I'm like, no, I just got this packet from a friend of mine who joined, and I think I'm going to go do it. And he was like, okay. Didn't try to talk me out of it. Nothing. Everybody else wanted to talk me out of it. And he just, every time, even now, still to this day, I go to him and he just listens. He lets me get everything out, and then he adds the advice. Whereas it's really difficult for a lot of people to just have that listen, because they want to interject because they have ideas, and they'll forget those ideas. He doesn't forget. He's just like, okay. And he'll just nod his head very quietly, and then he'll let you know what he thinks. And then it's like, that's what I needed to hear every single time. So that's my story.
Nice.
I like it, man.
There's a lot more to it. It gets crazier, but we'll save that for another time.
Stay tuned on the Elite U.
Yes.
There's a story about somebody stepping up and filling a role for somebody else. You know,
Yeah, that's huge.
That he was there and made a huge difference in your life and didn't have to.
Yeah,
You
100%.
volunteered, you stepped up, and you did it. That's I think people that want to come and you know, and get in front of the cameras, which is a little nerve wracking, you know, we're trying to do in that same vein, trying to step up and share, and hopefully we can make a difference in other people's lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed that content, we have more videos over here for you to check out. For those of you looking to enhance your knowledge, make sure that you go over to eliteu.com, where you will have early release of YouTube videos and access to exclusive content. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.